common, everyday guy. Born in Eisleben, Germany, he trained to be a monk, a religious scholar, a friar. In the midst of all this, Martin Luther was a professor at a place called Wittenberg. After he finished his studies, he decided to involve himself in teaching. And one day, he tacked his lectures to the wall. Again, a common, everyday thing. Those lectures that we now know as the 95 Theses were tacked to the wall at Wittenberg door. And so when he wrote on these 95 Theses, he wrote a story about God's redemptive love, about how important it was to understand that it was by faith alone, it was by grace alone, it was by Christ alone, it was by Scripture alone, and that there were no higher authority than the Bible, that there was no human institution called the church that could sell indulgences or that could sell penances and allow people to earn their relationship with God. This was a tragic time for Martin Luther because it brought him face to face with the enemies he now knew as the Holy Roman Empire and the Holy Catholic Church. These enemies brought Martin Luther to the Diet of Worms, and it was there that he was tried as a heretic and his life was threatened. This story is the story of a man who understood what it was like to stand on some eternally valuable principles that we know as moving from earner to heir. Martin Luther's story is our story because he was a common man, an everyday kind of guy who found himself thrust into a situation where the very principles of God were put to test, not just in his mind, but in his heart.